wonderful woman. And she put that baby in that little ark and pushed it out onto the waters of the Nile. I think it was a horrible risk. How did she know a crocodile wouldn't eat it before she had hardly turned her back? Or the lid could have blown off and the sun might have scorched the baby crisp. Or it could have been carried away on the flood, or somebody could have stolen it. But you see, when you get a word from God, you're not going to be shaken by the Philistines or anybody else outside. God had told her what to do and she obeyed. And again, that's the key, that's the anchorage of spiritual success, spiritual maturity, is obedience. To obey is better than sacrifice. Remember King Saul filled the whole of that valley with beasts, and yet he retained a few of the prize stock. And when Samuel came up to him and spoke to him, he said, well, I've done as you said, and the little sheep gave the story away, you know. Wonderful what little animals have taken important parts in the Bible, isn't it? And Samuel says, if you've done what you said you've done, what meaneth this bleating of the sheep and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? To obey is better than sacrifice. There is no substitute for obedience. No, not there, not now, not ever. Again, trust and obey. There's no other way. There's no other outlet. You either do as God says, all right, there be ye been to shrink. The supreme desire of God today, that when we come together, we meet with Him. As I usually ask people when somewhere in a meeting, did you come here, or did you come here tonight to meet God, or did you come to hear a sermon about Him? I talked with somebody today, an internationally known figure, who said, you know, I'm realizing how little I know of God. And I had offered somebody a sermon that's the most profound thing I've ever heard, and this person said, I feel as though I don't want to preach anymore. I said, well, that's how I felt when I heard the depth that this man has. Talking about Jesus laying His glory by and being wrapped in our clay. Oh, God pity us. We're so commercialized, we're so regulated by circumstances, we get up with the clock runs our lives, that we lose sight of eternity, we lose sight of the wonder of God's salvation. I once asked Mr. Spurgeon if he would join a society for the defense of the Bible, and he said you don't usually walk before a lion with a sword. Why do you need to defend the Bible? All this man did was put his hand up to stay the ark, and immediately he was smitten. What do you think we're doing with the gospel today? Dressing it up? Painting it up? In God's name, what are we doing with the gospel today? Isn't it getting more emasculated? Isn't it getting more Hollywood style? Don't you miss the absence and the glory of God? Why? They got the very presence of God inside, and that's all we need. There's an old hymn that says, God's presence and His very self, an essence all divine. I'll ask you again, I've asked you before, when did you last go out of the sanctuary? Tiptoe, because God would reveal His holiness and His majesty. We go out very much as the same way we came in. Go out, we say, hey, I like your dress. Someone like that in Sears myself. Wish I'd have got it. Or I like some other trivial thing that's got nothing to do with eternity and nothing to do with God. If you're getting insensitive to what God's trying to say to you, do you ever wonder when a certain thing has happened, that somewhere in your nervousness you put your hand up to steady the ark, and somehow that sensitivity went, and the compassion you had went, and the concern you had went? Again, this man didn't take an axe and split up the ark. He didn't say, we've carried this thing long enough, we need... No. All he did was try to steady the ark of God. Oh mercy, how we're trying to steady the ark of God these days. We want to do some new thing. We wouldn't just steady it, we paint it. We paint it. We put a musical box inside of it. We put the priests in some new garments. We try and make it more acceptable. You know, there's nothing this generation needs more than a baptism of old-fashioned hellfire preaching. I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that.